Hello, this is Jessica Fox from Florida Virtual Bookkeeper, and today I want to answer a very frequent question that I get, especially at the beginning of the year, is how do I know if I need to issue a 1099 form to my contractors? This is a very common question, not just for new entrepreneurs, even people that have been in business for a while. It can be hard to tell. And in a nutshell, I will tell you it's not that easy. There are a lot of ifs to determine whether or not somebody will receive a 1099 form. But in essence, this is something that you need to be aware of and ensure that you're in compliance. Now, why should you care about this? Well, first, it's required. If you're found to not have issued a 1099 that you should have, there are penalties. That's less money for you. That's not tax deductible. That's a cut into your profits. It's money that you could have spent on something else. And also, if you're found to have taken a deduction for payments for services that you did not issue 1099 forms, that could be denied. Therefore, you're paying more taxes. This is one of the reasons why a lot of accountants and bookkeepers, if they see that you're not issuing 1099s, they will just post that payment towards your owner's draw, even though it was really a business expense. So you want to make sure that you're aware of this so that you can remain in compliance. So, who gets a 1099? In a nutshell, anybody that you paid $600 or more for services in the course of the year, not products, services. And this also includes landlords, payments for rents, lawyers, accountants, handymen, anybody that issues a service. But it then gets a little bit more complicated than that. I am not going to go into all of the scenarios because it can get very complex. Then this video will get very long and boring. I am just giving you the basic information so that you at least have an idea and can take it from there. So for your specific scenario, I recommend that you consult your tax advisor, and you can also consult the IRS regulations. But one thing to keep in mind is that you only issue the form to those that are individuals, sole proprietors, or limited liability companies, LLCs, that are not taxed as a corporation. So if you are hiring a major corporation that is taxed as an S Corp or a C Corp, you do not need to issue a 1099 for them. However, to play it safe, the best practice is to always collect a W-9 form from all vendors before issuing the first payment. You can download a free version, a PDF version of this form from the IRS website, and that's your best protection to ensure that you're in compliance, and that way you're not scrambling at the beginning of the year in January trying to collect this information, because some vendors may disappear on you or may give you a hard time about giving you that information. And if you do not have a W-9 form for them, the IRS expects you to withhold a percentage of their payment into what is called backup withholding. So then you wouldn't be giving them their full payment. You need to keep a percentage and then remit it to the IRS. So this is something very important. Make it part of your workflow. Have that form available electronically. If you use, for example, QuickBooks software, you can, in QuickBooks Online, you can have them fill that out electronically instead of having them print, fill out, and scan. So there are ways to make it easy for you and your contractor. Now, some things also to keep in mind about whether or not you need to issue a 1099 form is that not all payments are eligible. And this is where it can get a little confusing, and even some bookkeepers have a hard time understanding this. Payments that are made via cash, check, ACH transfer need a 1099. Payments that are made through a third-party payment network, such as debit card, credit cards, PayPal, do not need a 1099 because those third-party payment networks are required by law to track the payments and issue a different 1099 if that person exceeds the threshold of payments for the year. So to make your life easier, make sure that when you're entering the payments in your books, you're identifying how it was paid. That way, come January, when you're trying to see who needs the 1099, you won't have a jumble of all sorts of different payment methods that you then have to unravel. It's easy if you're paying with a credit card because you can just exclude that register from your report. But when you're using a debit card, or you are using a PayPal payment that may have come as a transfer from your checking account, you want to make sure that those are labeled correctly so that you can easily filter them out when determining what you need to issue the 1099 for. In QuickBooks Online, you can do this by putting it in the reference or check number field. You just type the word debit or MC. In the QuickBooks help section, it gives you the list of anything that you can type in there, and it will recognize it as a non-1099 eligible payment. So the bottom line is you want to make sure that you are thinking about this ahead, because when the year ends, the deadline is right around the corner. It's January 31st for any 1099 forms that have a payment in box 7, which is non-employment employee compensation. This is the most common ones that I see. So this means anybody that you hire for a service. So you don't have a whole lot of time to figure this out, and this is why I want to make sure that you have an understanding to see, is this something that you need to be working on, and how can you set up a good process so that you're not scrambling again next year. Just know that the regulations change all the time. So I always encourage you to go to the source. If you search for 1099 information on Google, you'll get millions of results, lots of information. A lot of it is very good. Some of it is outdated, and the rest is just plain wrong. So when in doubt, go to the 1099 form instructions. They're published every year on the IRS website. And read the instructions for the current year, because previous year instructions, they may have changed. Consult your tax advisor. Some bookkeepers may or may not know the information very well. So even though I say consult your accountant, do take that with a grain of salt. Make sure that they did do the research and stayed up to date. But that way you can save yourself the headache and save yourself the money. So like I said, I'm not going to go into all of the different nuances of who gets the 1099 or not. This is just a very basic introduction, but at least it will help you have a better understanding and be able to take it to the next step and make sure that you stay in compliance. So I hope that this was helpful. If you have any questions, I am only an email away. Jessica at floridavirtualbookkeeper.com. Thank you and have a great day.